Welcome to the meeting to order at 6:30. And I can't do anything without my glasses. Okay, so for those of you who may not know me, I'm Sharon Kalinowski. I'm your president this year. And I'm glad to host the meeting tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Pat for a few minutes. She's going to talk about membership and attendance report.
Let somebody sneak. Is everybody signed in? Okay. All right. Oh. Hi, Julie. Okay. Kelly, would you give her a...
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I just can't see you there. Well, as far as I know, this may be confirmed later, we have 64 people here. We're getting larger and larger. But before we proceed, there's something I would like to do, so bear with me. In the last 2 months, 8 people joined this guild, and today I got an application from one of our former members, so I really feel like I should let you know who they are. So as I call your name, please stand up. Barbara Bittner. Cindy Peterson, are you here?
She's out of town.
Okay. Amanda Pickren, I know you're here. Is Barbara Radcliffe here? That's Sue Martin's friend. Okay. Jean Oslin, are you here? There she goes. Denise Javel, I know you're here. Joey Midkiff. Nancy Swanson. Lynn Zimmerman. Yay. And today we welcome back Connie Roos. Yay. Welcome everyone. Thank you.
Okay. So treasurer's report. Is Judy Russell here tonight? Okay. I do have a report from her, so let me read what she's written. And unlike the secretary's note, we haven't been distributing the treasurer's report. I think that's probably a good practice not to distribute it via email. If you would like to see a report, you're welcome to come in and ask for it. We will give it to you, but I just like to minimize that kind of stuff being out on the internet. So not because we're trying to keep anything from you, but we're trying to keep it from everyone else. Judy's report states that the bank balance as of today, the date that she gave this was the 6th. So for the month of May, we had $28,392. $2,100 of that is retreat deposits. So the retreat is self-sustaining, so she doesn't want that included in our balance. The key points for April were she had retreat registration is online. Thank you to the web team for doing that. That was great. She does, for those of you that remember, we are not a 501c3, we're a 501 something else. And that was an error when it was originally set up. And so Judy is working with the IRS, God bless her. To get that changed. So that's still in progress. She said the government moves very slowly. I think they move slowly unless they are taking your money.
Yeah, they can't.
Key points for June. She will register with the state for a raffle. We have to do that every year in order for us to be able to have a raffle at AQS. She's going to explore the tax exemption as a not-profit. Again, we just discussed that. She's gonna, we are in process of working with Seabreeze so we have a better understanding of the billing. There's never been a problem, but we want to make sure we understand that well, and we have written information on how that's to be done. And we're going to be working on requirements for providing receipts for donations to Racing Fingers. She mentioned something about maybe working up a form that we would use for anyone that requested a receipt for their donations. So anyway, that's what Judy had for the treasurer's report. Any questions on that? Okay, because I was going to tell you to see Judy. Secretary's report. It would be for the April meeting, not the May meeting, because we didn't have a meeting. Hopefully you've all taken a chance to read that. Can I have a motion to accept the April minutes? Pat? And second by Sue Martin. Okay. Any correspondence? Do we receive any correspondence?
All in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Linda. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. That'll come up next. Any correspondence? Okay. I want to make you aware of a couple of things that happened at the May board meeting. We made some good progress on the bylaws. And for those of you that are asking what kind of things are you looking to change in the bylaws, it's nothing about how the group functions or anything like that. We're not changing direction. There was a lot of gender-specific information in the bylaws, mentions of specific products that we're using, like group work. So we're looking to go in and clean that up. But along with that, there is still some work to do. And I formed a small committee. Joe will be part of it, Linda, Derry, Barry, Pat, and myself. There's room for one more person. I'd like to keep it to 5 at the most, because beyond that, it's like herding cats and you'll never get anything done. So if you have a desire to work on the bylaws, we don't need a 5th person, but if you would like to participate, have experience with writing contracts or anything like that, it would be appreciated. So if you have an interest in doing that, please send me a note and I will put you on the list, and we will have a meeting the first part of July to go over that. Hopefully by August we'll have bylaws that you can vote on. There is also a desire to shorten the meeting time. They have been running long because we do a lot of good stuff. And for my part, this meeting I'm going to do kind of a hybrid, but in the future I'm not going to be asking for reports from every member, and tonight I'm going to do some of that. But in the future, the only ones I'm going to ask to give a report are the secretary, the treasurer, programs, charity, and the block of the month. And then as different committees have things to report, we will include them. But for the sake of meeting time, making sure you still have the information, I will refer you to the newsletter. And if anybody has a problem with that as we move forward, let me know. But I think you'll appreciate, especially in the winter months, getting out before it gets really dark out there. So, but we do have this meeting area from 6 to 9. So. But I'm going to try and have us out of here a little earlier than before. On that same vein, with the show and tell, we're going to ask everyone from now on to limit it to 3 items that you show. That'll move it along a little faster. Okay? So 3 items. You're welcome to bring 3 the next meeting, but you know, we don't want 10 items, and I'm going to ask you to stick to that. The other thing is, in the bylaws it says we're going to operate, we're going to, thank you. See, it pays to have young people that can still do that. Did you notice how quick she did that? We're supposed to have a parliamentarian. And the main reason for the parliamentarian is, as Linda just did for me, thankfully, to keep us on track. If I forget to vote for something or whatever, it'll become particularly important when we vote on the bylaws, I believe. So if there is someone out there who would like to act as parliamentarian, just keep us on track. You know, I would appreciate hearing about it. Now, not to scare you, but I thought if we had to operate under Robert's Rules of Order, that you should have a copy of the book. So, this is it. I don't know who has read this entirely book, certainly not me, and it's small print. So what I did was, I said, certainly there must be a shortcut. So I went out to the website. That's what they gave us.
Let's go.
So certainly, if there's a question, the book is there for reference. I think if we're bound to do that by our bylaws, we should have a copy, so we have it. But for my purposes, I think this 2 pages is sufficient. So if you are inclined to volunteer, it does give you some sense of power. Please contact me. Is there anyone that would like to volunteer for that, like right now? Otherwise, I will be contacting people and helping you volunteer. Okay. But we do need to have a parliamentarian, just for things that happened just now. Say, Madam President, you're out of order. You need to. And doesn't that sound powerful? Madam President, you're out of order. You all should have received a copy of the board meeting, and I encourage you to read it. There's a lot of good stuff in there. We're trying to make things consistent and easier. So, and if you have any problems with what we've decided, please let me know. All right, next one up is programs and workshop. Coral, do you want to tell us what's coming up?
So tonight, of course, we have Nikki Hill here. She'll be doing a lot of quilts that we can't touch, but many that we can, and she'll pass them around. Now, but big is your team of amazing co-members out there in the back. For next month in July, the Christmas in July is projects they put together packages, and it'll be done and accomplished, cool little project during the meeting next month. So please, go sign up with them, even though maybe you were one of the 2 or 3 people that signed up on the website. Go ahead and sign up. We're trying to move to the website. Okay, so that's July. August is going to be speakers. Okay. Julie. Julie has agreed to do a lecture and a workshop for August, and it's going to be her tote bag that uses a jelly roll and then 2.5-inch strips of batting. And so we have a sign-up sheet for that in the back also, and it'll just be a $10 fee for the room, and you'll need to order the pattern, and she'll mail you out all that information. September is 3 different charities are going to talk to us about how much they appreciate what we do for them, and thank you. Yep.
Okay, so Pat is anxious to award a door prize for the name tags, for wearing your name tags. Okay, so the last 3 numbers are 6, 4, 3.
All right, Kelly. Thank you for helping. I'm going to sit at you guys' table now.
First, you have to wear your name.
Yeah. Well, that would. Yeah. Well, my apron. Imagine this coffee. Just little ones. So I took the Tide pen and got them out because I don't want to wash it because it's all starched up, So I, yeah. At least I can't see them anymore. And I washed that dress and I can't see those.
Okay, so Kelly? Yes. Did you want to come up and get something or send a representative?
Don't worry, Kathy.
Doesn't matter.
Kathy.
So pick a number between 1 and 16.
1 and 64.
28.
How much?
28.
28. Okay, so all those people that picked the number, I don't pick the wrong one. Sean, where are you? Sean is over here.
Okay, I'm not going to ask for a report on AQS, other than to tell you we will begin working on February 8th and continue to February 13th of 2027. Volunteer coordinators are Kathy Osterkamp and Kelly Edmond. And our liaison with AQS continues to be Linda Derryberry. And as that comes up and we start doing stuff, I'll ask them for a report. I'm going to remind people that the sit and sews are held every third Tuesday of the month here. Hospitality, Patty Mirabelli. You're going to have to change the pronunciation.
Well, you got it right on the second.
I did, because I looked at you and I knew it was wrong. Who is that woman she's talking about?
My whole married life.
How are we doing on snacks and sign up?
The sign up is there. We're pretty much, I think we have like 2 open.
Okay, and where are you keeping the sign up sheet?
It's right on the front table.
Okay,
Everyone wants to sign up.
yep, so that's where it will be in the future?
Everyone who also brought extra today.
Okay.
Has been.
Quilt retreat, there was a note sent out, you will see in the newsletter that the next sign up is for November 12 through 15. And sign up is available on the website. So all you have to do is go out to the website and members only.
Right, we have like 4, we're at 4 spots open right now.
Okay, so only 4 spots, so if you're planning on going, and it's really slick, it will ask you for money for your deposit, and you can submit it directly through the website. So you don't have to send a check or nothing. Couldn't be easier. Charity. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm going to have Patty come up just to tell you about not the November date, but the one in 27.
So for those people who are interested in retreat next year, this is for next year, the dates that we were given, normally we do like sometime in March. And the only date we could get originally from Sarah was April 29th through May 2nd. And as it turns out, I will be in New Jersey on May the 1st, so I am not going to be able to make that. So I contacted Sarah and said, could we switch that to a different date? And she gave me the weekend of the AQS show. Doesn't work. Gave me January 14th, which is exactly 2 months after the November retreat that we're going on. Or sometime in June, but I didn't even entertain June because which I could. And I actually texted her. She did not get back to me, which is a problem, getting her to get back to you. It took me pretty much almost a month to get a January 14th option. So show of hands for the people who are thinking of going to the next year's retreat at the beginning of the year, which is what we usually call the spring retreat. How many people would be interested in doing a retreat in January?
Come on, start off the new year with a bang.
7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And how many people would like to just leave it for the April 29th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I will talk to you guys and just wanted to get an idea. If I don't go in April, I have to get somebody else to do it, and it's just been really difficult with, like, this last retreat that we went on with her. There were some problems with the room, and I'm perfectly willing to handle that, and she's not going to be there, so I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed to see how it's going to go from now on with the retreat. I have high hopes that it's going to get better and not, go in the opposite direction. So thank you.
So for those of you that don't know, Sarah has been our coordinator for many years. I don't know how long, but Sarah is retiring. So that's the reason that Patty has some concern. We'll be dealing with a new person in January, and she'll have just taken over. So, and the same thing for her being there. It will be a new person, a new relationship. So it may be a little bit different than what we're accustomed to. So. Charity, Sandy, did you want to talk real quick about?
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
I was going to stay over there because I know you all can hear me no matter where I am. So for charity, it's been awesome. We have gotten hundreds already. In May, I think we delivered 341 items. Now, some of those were small, bears, toys, burp cloths, bibs, stuff like that, but it's awesome. In June, I took another 61 pieces over to Wanohana, and I believe, did you give in June? No, I'm sorry. Anyways, between Wanohana, Advent, and the Quilts of Valor, just in the last month, we've given another almost 100 items. So we're good, and I put it in the newsletter more specifically. Okay, bears. We have had the first charity sew that was combined with Sue seemed very successful. There were a lot of people there. We had batting laid out, so if you ever want to make a quilt straight through, we have batting. Just come, we'll cut you what size you need. Leslie was starting to put together kits again. We were cutting flannel to make bears. A lot of people expressed interest in the bear. Wanohana loves the bears. So if you're into making bears or any kind of little animals for the foster kids, Coral's friend's been making the most amazing crocheted animals, just the cutest thing. If you have that talent, make some little ones for me. That'd be awesome. Lynn Frost has a die cut. Last year we made a bunch of bears. I just used some t-shirt material, and this is the size they come out. And we started cutting a bunch of flannel. So if you want to, and I've just been putting Wanohana on it, and if you have an embroidery machine, it's easy, but you don't need to put anything, but it's basically that size. Another option, Leslie has a free pattern that makes a bear that is a little more three-dimensional with a nose sticking out. And so we also have a free pattern for that. There is a website called Shiny Happy World that has these free patterns called Warren the Charity Bear, and this is basically it. And it's this, again, really quick, easy, fun. Use up your cottons, flannels, polar fleece, whatever. Those are a great size. And if you have an embroidery machine, they have this free from Creative Kiwi, has this free little pattern. And it is cute as can be and easy to make and goes really quick. And it's on their website. So we would love stuffies if you are so inclined. And if you want to come to the charity, and I have some squares already cut out for some of these bear sizes. If you want them, just take them home and I'll tell you how to get the pattern. But if you come to the charity show, we'll just start putting these out and we'll get some stuffing. But if you want to do it on your own, please do, or call me or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you.
What? First Tuesday of the month. The first Tuesday of the month.
Oh, that was my next note. Thank you for the lead-in, Diane. So Fidget Quilts is the first Tuesday. It is now combined, and we call it charity. So Susan will continue to lead you in the Fidget Quilts, and Kathy Carlson has volunteered, or we will cover for each other for the charity part of it. So that again is the first Tuesday of the month, beginning at 10 o'clock, correct? All right. A quick note, a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, Pam Moriarty mentioned that her church can use egg cartons, and she has placed a basket somewhere over here, and if you, anytime you, well, she'll talk to it in a couple of minutes. But her church uses them for some reason, which escapes me. But a reminder, while she's doing that, we had agreed that next month during the Christmas in July, we would do a canned food drive, and Pam will also take those to her church for their soup, not soup kitchen, but for their pantry.
My church has food there.
Well,
We have a pantry every Wednesday, every Monday. We have a truck from the church that goes around to all these, and they give us eggs. Sometimes you get a carton and there's 12, and it's okay. Sometimes you get them and there's 6 are smashed and lose the thing, and you can't give somebody that. So if you have these at home that you would have thrown out, I'm one of those eggs. We have like 4 brown ones and 6, different colored ones. And this is a real big house because we don't have to buy them then. So it's okay. I'm gonna bring this every time. And if you bring egg packets,
I have 2 of them sitting on my counter.
and this is about my church in case anybody wants.
What size egg cartons? 12, 18, 24?
It's better just 12, but if you have an 18, we'll just put 12 eggs in it. And figure that out.
Can you bring the clear ones?
Yeah, clear, anything. Clear, plastic, cardboard, anything.
okay, so any kind of egg cartons in good shape, her church would like them. Just bring them and put them in the basket. And if you do that, you can take a candy. And I don't want to see anybody taking candy without putting an egg carton in there, because it'll be filmed.
Please clean the cartons first.
Yes, leave the carton first.
So I'm going to try and remember to bring this every month, if that's okay with
Yep. Okay. And then remember, in July we'll have a canned food drive as well. Okay, closet organization and supply. Linda continues to manage the closet, and we did vote at the meeting, the board meeting, that we would purchase some batting when we need it. So we did increase the budget by about $250 to allow the charity group to have the capability to purchase the batting. Joe Picard continues to work with the Quilts of Valor, so if you have any questions about that, you can see Joe. I encourage you to go look on the newsletter for the annual challenge. Nora's here today. I should have made that announcement. And Debbie Morse is here today. So, I mean, she's not traveling all over creation. Nora is here, so if you have a question, she can answer that. But basically, it's red, white, and blue. And see your newsletter. We hope to get many quilts for the Quilts of Valor group. Block of the month. Let's have Joe is going to fill in and tell us everything about block of the month. Yeah.
Mike.
I'm sorry. What did I call you? Oh, I'm sorry. Mike, I've lost my mind. I know what I wanted to tell you. Block of the month is on our website. You can access it through the website. So if you don't have a paper copy, we don't give those out, but you can print it out at home, or you can just look at the website and figure out how to do it. Save the paper.
Okay, so we had lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots.
We have
5 sets.
sets for the.
Yeah, 5 sets of any kind of color and 2 sets of patriotic. So lots.
So we're going to do for the 5 sets.
All right, so the first one, ticket ends in number 152. All right. Do you want a patriotic one or all right?
I was gonna say,
Who is it? Yeah, I need to know who it
All right, and the next ticket number is 197. 197. All right. All right.
I trust you.
those are pretty.
Okay. So the next one is number 235.
Who got the second one? I'm sorry.
No, Denise Duval. 235. Is that you, Coral? Yay! All right. And ticket number 220. Oh, hey, how about that? That's me. All right. And this is me too, so we'll just skip that one. 183. Yay, Patty! All right, and the last block set. Oh, two more. Sorry, can't count. 173. Joe? No, it's not Joe. All right, yay! And what is your name?
Jane.
Jane. All right.
Jane Foster.
Okay, and the last number, 247. Yay!
All right, guys,
Kelly.
I'm definitely sitting at you guys' table next time.
Here, Sue. Oh, I'll give you. Thanks. Yeah. All right, great. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so let's talk about next month's block. Okay, so since we're doing Christmas in July, next month's block is the Christmas bulb. Yeah. So it looks like this. It's a little tiny guy, well, girl, whatever. It's a little tiny block. Okay. So it starts with a 5x5 square and some little pieces. So 5x5 square, and then 4 1.5-inch squares that you snowball corners, and then a black piece and some other little green pieces. I know, I'm not near as good at this as Mindy. So, you take the square and you just snowball the corners, right? And then you press the square back, get those to stick, press the square back, trim those off, my stuff. And then, on the separate piece, you just stitch the black piece with the 2 green ends. So you have these 2 rectangles, 2 green rectangles, you put them on the ends of the black piece. And then, lastly, you stitch it all together. So, pretty simple block to make.
What is it?
It's a Christmas bulb. It's supposed to look like your Christmas ornament. Yeah, use Christmas fabric to make it. You don't have to use a green background if you don't want to. The pattern calls for red and green, but it doesn't have to be red and green.
What's the finished size?
The finished size is 5x6. So it's a little tiny block. So the pattern will be in, or Pat will email out the pattern. I have no idea. Did Mindy send it to you? I don't know. Any questions? All right, thanks everybody.
Okay, so my tech team, web people, will that be on the website? That will be on the website? Okay, so look for it on the website. Give them more than 5 minutes to do that. Okay, I'm going to encourage you to read your newsletter about the UFO challenge. We don't have any presentations tonight. Sue Martin is right here. She is in the front row. If you have any questions about that, she can help you. The AccuQuilt, AccuGo, we do have those available every sit and sew. They will be available also for the charity sew as well. So if you want to come and use them here, that's fine. Otherwise, you can check out the die, but you cannot check out the machines. The machine is a little fragile, so we made the determination that to protect that, we're going to ask people that we only utilize that here. But you can check out the die. Sandy is here and Nora is here tonight, and they can help you with that.
Move the microphone back about a foot.
That way?
That way.
Is that good?
Yep, you were starting to get feedback.
Oh, okay. Opportunity quilt, I don't have anything to report. Is Carolyn here?
I have one last minute little thing, if you wouldn't mind. Sorry. I found out tonight that someone didn't have the makings of a name tag. Is there anybody else? Good.
She's quick. Opportunity quilt for 2027, Carolyn and Robin are working on that. But Cindy Sanders is back there. Last month 2 months ago, we gave her a quilt that was donated, a quilt kit that was donated, right size and everything. And so Cindy and where is Julie? Julie here are going to be in charge of. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong person. I totally lost my mind. Totally lost my mind.
Julia's history with me.
Okay, I'll get them. Okay, so Cindy and Debbie are working on the opportunity quilt for 2028. Okay.
And all the babies are distributed.
Yeah. So anyway,
Thank you.
it looks to be beautiful, and it didn't cost us anything. Zero. So they'll be working on that. Technology. Peter is working with our technology team to post the meeting videos. Kim and Peter will be working on that, and at some point in the not too distant future, you will be able to access those via the website. Undetermined how long we'll keep them out there, if we'll only keep a couple months or we'll keep a full year or whatever, but details are yet to be worked, but they will be start to post those. So for those people like Nora, who's gone most of the time, they can remember who's who. We just have to get them to send us pictures of them so we don't forget them. But those will be out on the website soon. Another thing about the website, I did ask Susan Chance to bring her computer, laptop, whatever, next month, and she will be available at the social time, 6 to 6:30. 6:30 we're done. If you have any questions about the website, any difficulty using it, want to, just get a refresher or whatever, she'll be here to take, to help anybody out with the website access. I've used it quite a few times. I'm really quite pleased with it. I can't imagine people having a hard time with it except remembering the password, but that's the hardest thing I think for me, because everything's got a password. But they will do that next month, and then I would like to have them do it again before our election, because we do vote online. That's our goal. We will be voting online using the website. And so to make sure that everybody can vote without an excuse, I'm going to ask them to come back in that time frame to make sure everybody understands how to do it and can vote via the webpage. So look for that next month. Facebook, I'm out on Facebook, and I think Lynn and Lisa and Linda are doing a great job with Facebook. I mean, you can go out there and you can look at what's going on. And it's pretty much synced up with the website. So if you haven't gone out and done that, look for that. Foster, I have got, Sue Chance, any update on that? They meet Thursdays from 3 to 6:30 at Lighthouse Church on Granada. Any updates on that?
We were given $500 from Rotary and $1,000 from the Corvette Club.
So for those of you that don't know, there are some, I've talked to Judy Glover about that, not Judy Glover, Judy Russell. Judy Glover not doing that. See, I've lost my mind. But Judy Russell, she's worked out a way so that if we get a donation that's designated for a particular organization, such as Foster, she keeps track of that. So as they take out expenses, they take it from the monies that have been given to them and designated. And for the most part, we use it for backing and for batting. So that's our biggest expense. And the same is true for Quilts of Valor. If anyone wants to make a direct donation to Quilts of Valor, they can do that too.
On the website, it said the Foster, there was a couple of days that said they were 8 to 5. Is that true, or is that just a wrong date? Is it?
Say again, can you repeat that, Kelly?
On the website, it says for Foster or so, there was a couple of days that said it was 8 to 5.
No, it's, the Foster is 3.
There was a couple of things, and I believe those are corrected. So if they aren't, just let me know and we'll correct.
But it is just the 3 to 6.
It's just 3 to 6:30.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. There was a day that we were going to get together on a Saturday, and it was decided that wasn't feasible. So 3 to 6:30 every Thursday. And if you come to that, we swear to secrecy because we talk about a lot of stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with quilting. Sunshine, Kathy, anything to report? No?
Thank you for the cards. Some people don't really support.
Okay. We've done door prizes. I don't have anything old business. Anything else anyone has on old business? Yeah. Yep.
Diane Hoffel, where are you? Oh God, why do I have this problem? I just want everybody to know that Diane Hoffer is the one that's been making those name tags, and I think we need to thank her for it. Plus, I need some more.
And thank you for doing a great job, and we need more of it. Yeah. And new business, I have the need to do an inventory. I think the Guild has a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware of. I know we have irons, I know we have a boatload of fabric, but there's some other things like extension cords, a display board, those kind of things. So at some point, I will take the time to work with Linda and take an inventory, not of the fabric, and we're not going to count scraps of fabric, but what we have here, so that if something happens here at the church, we change leadership, or something happens here, we've got an inventory of what our stuff is. We've got tables under here that we purchased. I think there were 20 of them. So I want to get a better accounting of what we have, what the Guild's purchased. But it's also come to my attention that there's things that people have in their homes that they took home. I know right now some of the AccuQuilt is at Patty Mirabele's home. And I know there's a first aid kit that goes to the quilt show too. So, just things like that you wouldn't, we have, and I don't know that there's a list. So I'm looking to do that in the next few months. So if you have anything at home storing for the Guild, please let me know so we make sure to include it in the inventory that we have. Because we certainly don't want to go out and buy something if we already own it. So please send me a note. Okay. So I think that is all I have. anyone have anything else that they need to address before I turn it over to our program people?
No, turn it over.
Okay, going. I'm going to introduce Coral. Coral will introduce our speakers. See, I'm having a hard time with names. I don't know.
I'm going to introduce Tatiana, who's going to
Okay, Tatiana is going to do the introduction.
Good evening. Is it okay if I read off the phone?
Yes.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Nikki Hill. She is a good friend and just an amazing lady once you get to know her, and she's well known in the community. Nikki is an accomplished artist and art quilter from St. Augustine, Florida. Thank you so much for coming. And in her work, she combines creativity, imagination, and exceptional craftsmanship. She brings to quilting so much joy. She uses fabric, thread, paint, embellishments, and mixed media techniques to create expressive and visually striking pieces. Her quilts have been exhibited in prestigious quilt shows, and including AQS and so much more. And her award-winning works as a Picasso series are so incredible. I don't even have enough words to describe how inspirational Nikki is. She describes herself as someone who loves exploring the possibilities of fiber art and pushing beyond traditional boundaries. Her work demonstrates how quilting can be both a technical craft and a powerful artistic medium. So we're very delighted that Nikki found time to come here and to share with us her artistic journey, inspiration, and beautiful work today. And please welcome Nikki Hill.
I'm a little short here. Well, everybody, I hope you don't mind me using mine either, because I brought quite a few of my friends with me today, and every so often I kind of forget where some of them came from, so hopefully I've got them in the right way. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. I am really overwhelmed, and I'm so happy to be here. I have had a pretty outrageous artistic journey. It comes from a lot of different sources. I have not necessarily been a sewer. My mother is a sewer, has always been a sewer, and she put a needle in my head when I was 4 years old to do crewel embroidery. And if you ask her about it today, she will still tell you that I did it better at 4 than she does now. I do not for one moment believe her, because the woman is an incredible sewer. She was always sewing my clothes and dragging me to fabric shops, and frankly, I was not the least bit interested in going to fabric shops. I do remember at one, there was this giant barrel of buttons. That was fun. That's what a 5-year-old kind of gets into. But I have been creating things, and largely it's always been along the line of, there's something I want and I can't have it, so I would make it. When I was about 6 or 7, there was a little girl who lived down the lane, and she had a farm. I mean, how cool is that? I had cats. She had chickens. I wanted a chicken. Shockingly, my parents would not get me a chicken. I can't imagine why. So I made a chicken. I took an entire ream of lined school paper and all the Scotch tape my mother could find in the house, and I spent the entire day sculpting a chicken out of notebook paper. My mom actually did not seem to mind this, and I'm sure I went through the entire ream, but it kept me out of her hair all day, so that was good, right? And to this day, the thing I still remember, and the thing that still makes me really angry, is I could not get that chicken to stand up on its pipe cleaner feet. I've learned a lot more about art mediums and different things you can use, and now I know exactly what I could use to make that chicken stand up. Although the chicken face fortunately didn't last that long. I was sewing things, I was sewing bags, I was doing soft sculpture dolls for quite a while. Quilt Fest came to town. My mom asked me if I wanted to go. This would have been in 2003. I was not the least bit interested in going and seeing the quilts like my grandma made and my mother and all like that. But they had vendors. I'm like, ooh, shopping? Did somebody say shopping? Okay. So at this time, it was still being held at the before the Prime Osborne, it was being held at the Morocco Shrine Auditorium. And I went in there immediately thinking, okay, I'm gonna go check out the fabric, I'm gonna go check out the notions, I'm gonna get myself some thread. Oh, what's that? I stumbled into the art section. I did not know you could do that in fabric. That was just so, that was my, that's a quilt moment, and I still remember this one that drew my eye was a girl on a surfboard. It was just, and it was so funny, it's like I look at it now, I think, that was just my, it never occurred to me you could do that. I left that show so full of inspiration, and I was like, I want to do that. And the very first thing I did was start grabbing fabrics, just not really knowing what to do, but I did have a sewing machine, and I had a mom who had been sewing all those years. So I kind of put the two together and started thinking, what do I want to see as a quilt? A lot of my stuff, I'm inspired by Art Deco, by history, by cats. I have quite a few of them. But also at the time I was looking through a lot of Erda's designs. Romain de Tiertoff was a master of Art Deco design, and I came across an old Harper's Bazaar cover that he did, and it kind of had a mythology feel to it, and I was always into mythology too, so I decided I'm going to create that. And I'm sure almost everybody here has one or two quilts that they take a look at that they did a long time ago and we're like, oh God, don't look at that, don't look at that, you don't want to see what I did. Well, I brought my very first art quilt here. I am going to pass it around because I want you to see exactly what I did not know. Because there was a lot I didn't know. Let's start with this big guy right here. This is the very first art quilt I ever made. It was based on Romain de Tiertoff's Harper Bazaar cover. And I might need a couple of elves here because they are a little bit big. And as you can see, it's like when I pass it around, you'll check it out. It does look like I basically took a stuffed paper doll and slapped it on there. I did. I could not find a sky. I was very literal in my thinking. Art, I need a sky. So I went shopping for sky fabric, and I couldn't find anything I wanted. My mom had a great book on painting skies, so I painted the sky. We have a lot of cheesecloth hanging around because I love Halloween, and cheesecloth makes the best spider webs you've ever seen. So I liked the flow of it, and I started thinking, hey, could I dye the cheesecloth to make smoke? So I dyed cheesecloth to make smoke. I take a look at this and I think I did everything probably the hardest way it's possible to do because I didn't know what I was doing. I also did not put in almost any quilting, and I think that's kind of common with a lot of art quilters. We've made this beautiful vision. We don't want to clutter up with lots and lots of thread. So I sent it off to Quilt Fest, and it was 2004, so that was the year that we had those wonderful hurricanes. 2 weeks of absolutely no electricity, so I could not do any quilting, so I was really scrambling. But still, I'm like, hey, I got a quilt in Quilt Fest, and I'm thinking it's going to be the most beautiful thing. I turned the corner and I saw it. I wanted to rip it right down and take it home and quilt it. It was horrible. Because I had not done any quilting in the back, this poor lady was hanging there looking like baggy pantyhose. I do remember that the judge did say she liked the bird, and I agreed. I think the bird probably is the best part. But I'm going to hand this one to Tatiana. You guys can take a look at it, because when I got it home, the first thing I did was slap it underneath my faff. And I just filled in the background with a Greek key so at least she doesn't hang. But these are the kind of things that you don't really think about ahead of time. I had all these big heavy elements on it, and it didn't hold it up very well, and she was sadly very saggy.
It's still great for your first quilt.
For a first one, it's like, it's not bad. I take a look, I didn't tie, I just cut the threads, I didn't bury knots, I didn't know any of this kind of stuff. But this one, I will tell you, hangs in my bedroom. I'm very proud of it. It was something I didn't know what to do, and I figured out how to do it. Fortunately, a good chunk of these are smaller, so a little bit easier, just kind of hand them through. Got a few that I can't pass around because they're a little bit bigger. Oh, thank you, Coral. As I mentioned, mythology plays a really big part of my creative process. This one is called Perdix. And I will tell you, if you like the idea of doing art quilts but you don't draw, your best friend is clip art. Royalty-free clip art. This came from a Dover clip art book on stained glass, and all I really did was redo a couple of the lines. This was meant to be one of the Hoffman Challenge ones because by that time I had discovered Hoffman fabrics and I was in love with them. So I made this beautiful partridge in the pear tree, and the reason it's called Paradix, if you're familiar with the story of Icarus, the guy who flew too close to the sun, his father Daedalus was an incredible inventor. Daedalus also had a nephew who was an inventor named Paradix. And he was very, very jealous of Paradix. So one day he invites Paradix out for a nice drink on top of a really high tower and pushes him off. The goddess Athena caught him on the way down and transformed him into a partridge because partridges are never far off the ground. Basically warning him, it's like, you will be fine as long as you stay close to the ground. And it didn't mean for it to go to the Hoffman Challenge, but I had no concept of time at that time and how long things take because I was working full time. I was working at Target as a manager. So by the time I get home, it's like you only have a little bit of time to do any quilting. So this wound up going to Quilt Fest instead, where I'm happy to say it won me my first judge's recognition. Quilt Fest has kind of been my home show, and it probably always will be. And it didn't take too long for me to start discovering their challenges. The fun thing about a challenge quilt, really? I hate those. The fun part about a challenge quilt is, it's going to be, seriously, I can project, you can hear me in the cheap seats. The fun part about a challenge is that it makes you really think. It puts you outside of your comfort zone. This particular one for the Elves of the Quilt Maker, the challenge was recycle the past. And we had my great-grandmother's treadle machine. We still do. And all of the little drawers had things in it. They had buttons, they had cuffs from my great-grandfather's shirts and things. So I had a blast pulling different things to put into this. The little figures that you see making the quilt, that actually was part of the challenge fabric, and I just cut them out to make the figures. But of course the whole idea, the Elves and the Shoemaker is my favorite fairy tale. Only here it's not elves making shoes, it's the elves making me quilts. I still refer to them as the elves in my quilt room. Unfortunately, they don't really help. But it was a lot of fun because this background was burlap, which I never worked with, and I never will again. It's very, very loose weave. It moves, and it sheds, and it dusts on everything. I did, however, learn how to properly handle and stitch candy wrappers. It was a real challenge eating that much candy to get enough candy wrappers, but I was willing to do it, and I did. I have soda pop tabs. I've got a little bit of everything in here, but I really kind of enjoyed the whole process of them putting together this little string quilt. This big guy. This big guy was probably one of the first big challenging ones I ever did. This was when rock was young. I made it in 2009, and the reason that I made this giant record, besides the idea of making a big round thing with a hole in it, I did not grow up listening to the music of my generation. I thought the music of the 70s was, frankly, rather boring. I had found my mom's big box of records. She had the Everly Brothers and Janet Dean and Buddy Holly. She had the cool stuff. So I grew up listening to her 45s. And 2009 was the 50th anniversary of a certain plane crash that happened in Clear Lake, Iowa, that took the lives of Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and Richie Valens. So this was one of my first true artistic compositions. The first thing you may notice is that I am a very asymmetrical person. The law of threes, you kind of want different values. It's more aesthetically pleasing, but also I made sure I had 3/4 of a person. I have the full person because I've got Chuck Berry down here doing the duck walk. And then I have the head up here of Bill Haley and the Comets. I always loved him. This one was a lot of fun. The problem was, once again, I was still learning the whole process of what to do. Records are shiny. I'm still very literal in my artistic thinking at this point. And my mother had ordered some polished cotton to make my son the most awesome Darth Vader costume you've ever seen. But she got it from a lady on eBay. We have no way of knowing how long this lady had it in her garage or whatever, and it has not stood up well to the test of time. I've had to patch it because just having it folded, it started breaking apart and deteriorating. So definitely one of the lessons I've learned from that is always make sure you are getting quality fabrics. The other thing was I was still learning how to quilt. And this is the way that my mind was going because I was not thinking as a quilter, I was just thinking as a creator. It's a record. It'll have a hole in the center. I'll just treat it like it's a record player. I'll put my walking foot on, I'll start at the outside, just go in, and if it gets puffy, it'll just go out the center. Yeah, that didn't happen. It was bad. It was really bad. What had happened is it bunched up really bad over there by Buddy, and I was about this far in when I realized that I was pretty much screwed. So I had to pull all this out, and from the label over, on the label it's monofilament. So I had to stitch out, I had to unpick all that monofilament, peel up Buddy, peel back the label, and then basically take a box cutter and make slashes through the binding and the backing. And then I just basically covered the whole thing with a stripe. If you hold this up to the light, you can actually see exactly how badly I screwed it up. So unfortunately, this one hasn't gone around too much. And I enjoyed the back side too because I did the exact back side, except it's called the flip side. So this is probably the quilt that I have screwed up the absolute most, but you know, I still absolutely love it because it's a subject matter I like. I just really wish that I had done it in better fabrics, and I have thought often about redoing it. This one's gonna need to stay over here because he is very fragile, unfortunately. Here, you can hang out. There we go. They're used to a piano, they can deal with that. I do actually. I'm kind of using that one for mine. I will say one thing about, I've brought this one back out because I decided last year to revisit it. This one taught me a lot, and I did want to redo it, but I didn't want to redo it with the same characters. So I brought the quilt that it is inspired because that quilt is going to Quilt Fest this year. It's not finished, but I brought it with me anyway. Going back to my love of mythology, this is Icarus Take 2. We remember Icarus didn't do so well with those wings of wax, so I decided to give him a little bit more of a steampunk, Wile E. Coyote kind of connection. By this point, I had entered Quilt Fest several times, and I was listening to what the judges had to say, because if you've seen that very first one, you know that the corners were absolutely dreadful, the binding is a hot mess, and binding was really one thing I had to work on. And I discovered a book on doing edge treatments. So that was what I first decided to start doing, was playing with some of the edge treatments. So I took one of them, I've got suede going around the binding. I had a really great time with all of his little embellishments. His wings I cut out of a placemat. I made him a little boot, a little map of Ithaca. I strung beads together to make a spyglass. And his sock is a real sock. It's a baby sock that I got on clearance at Target. And because I wanted it to look dirty, I actually did kind of scuff it up a little bit with a little bit of brown paint, just so he looked the part. But it's kind of a fun one. I really enjoyed it, and more importantly, the judge kind of got that in my idea that once you start playing with the bindings a little bit more, it makes it a cleaner finish, and then the whole thing kind of comes together. Another one that I had, this one was also a Quilt Fest challenge. This one did not come out nearly as well, parts of it I truly love, but it was a real challenge because it was Discover Diamonds. I'm not a piecer, so piecing diamonds was really, really difficult for me. And the part that I was already thinking, because Icarus had come out so great, that was I would be able to do this really, really cool binding on it. And I still like the idea of the binding, the fabrics were right and everything, but I still didn't have the technical know-how to pull it off. So although this one was really fun, and I was kind of curious how it would come out because it's Sharky's slightly used surfboard sails. I had a real fun time figuring out how to do the shark laying on his flippers in a hammock. And I wasn't sure people would necessarily appreciate my snarky sense of humor, but he was actually the part I liked. So I would actually give the idea of the binding with the little crosses and everything like that, I'd give the idea a 10, but the execution, seriously, was a 5. So about this point, I'm already thinking, okay, maybe I need to finally start taking some classes, because everything I had been doing up until then was just like, let me try this and see if it works. Okay, that kind of worked. Sometimes they didn't, sometimes they didn't. I'm definitely going to need help holding this guy up. He is heavy. So obviously, in addition to mythology, I am a big history buff. I'm also a Navy brat. There's been a lot of Navy in my family. And in 2012 was the 100th anniversary of the loss of the RMS Titanic. And that meant a lot to me, and I really wanted to do something to kind of commemorate that. So this one is pixelated. It's a watercolor quilt, so all of these are 1.5-inch pieces. It didn't occur to me all the seams that were going to be needed to do this. I had to rearrange all the furniture in the house to make it all lay out because it was enormous. And at the time, it's like I did not have a large machine. I had a 20-year-old Pfaff with a 6-inch throat that can't even do needle down. But I tried it anyway. And I have to say, the biggest problem is, as you can probably tell by the ones that are up here, I love purple and I love blue. I really love a red purple. It's deep and it's vibrant and it's energetic. And after I had this all put together, I realized the mood was wrong. There is a major mood to color, and the mood that I was projecting was not serene, because that was what I wanted it to be. It was an energetic purple, and it almost looked violent. So after I had quilted it, this was also the first time I ever long-armed, by the way. If any of you remember Kathy Booz from the quilt shop in Benel, bless her, she set it up on the long arm, and she got a thread for me and told me to go for it. So I did. So that's the first time that I actually long-armed on it, but after I got it back, I figured, okay, I can't change the fabric that's in it, but I can change the color. The way that you can change an existing color is with the little ink tints. I love ink tints, and I love liquid inks, and I went back over, and you can kind of see around the stitching, I literally just colored in full sections. I put a marine blue on top of that purple to tone it down and bring it a little bit more softness. I will say with this particular one, this taught me a major lesson, because although it was a quilt I felt I needed to make, this quilt does not hang anywhere in my house. It's big and it's sad, and I don't like being surrounded by sad things. So this quilt has actually been folded up most of the time in the back of my closet. But from that point on, I kind of realized it's like, you know, I want to be surrounded by happy things. I want to make happy things. I want to make things that make me smile, or at least make me laugh a little bit. And that's not one of them, unfortunately. Yeah, he's a big boy. Yeah, the colors are fabulous, but I was... And he was even bigger before I sewed them together. So moving back to things that actually make me happy, obviously in addition to history, I am into Egyptology. I'd always kind of wanted to do something that had hieroglyphics on it. This was actually a technique, this is a tiling technique I picked up by Gloria Lumen to try to make that look. This, by the way, is the ultimate royalty-free clip art, because all of this stuff, all the hieroglyphics and everything like that, they've been on buildings for centuries. So nobody can claim them as theirs. So it was super easy to make this. And I still remember people at the show were saying, I could never draw like that. It's like, I didn't draw any of this. The only thing that I did was I altered some of the ways that they stood, and there is a lot of ink in this. Isis's wings were white. All of that is ink tints. All of the hieroglyphics, well, almost all the hieroglyphics are ink tints. And my personal favorite is this little quilt down here. That was one of the challenge fabrics. I did not piece those. That is not a pieced quilt, but I made it look like a pieced quilt. If you think about it, you probably could have pieced it, but it wouldn't that have made any difference? It would have made it big and bulky, and I got it done a lot faster with just a little bit of ink. The fun part with this one is that this one also does have a very big story. I was doing two quilts at the same time, because this one was through the ages for Quilt Fest. Meanwhile, Hoffman had their own quilt come out. These guys can stand together. So I was working on these concurrently. And the reason that they are these shapes is because of the size requirements. With Hoffman, it could be up to 160 inches all the way around, but at the time, with Quilt Fest, it could only be 110 inches. So I deliberately sculpted them so they would fit next to each other. That one is Quilt Like an Egyptian Part 1. This is Quilt Like an Egyptian Part 2. The first one actually tells the story of the pharaoh's daughter, Nadira, and her cat, Muffin. Muffin, unfortunately, was a very naughty kitty, and he liked to chew up all of her fabrics. So in desperation, she sought the wise god Horus, who gathered up the scraps that Muffin was chewing and threw them to the heavens, where his mother Isis transformed them into a very familiar star shape that we use. The scribes took down the wisdom, and the first sewing circle was born. For the Hoffman version, I basically went more into the creation of the industry. I had a lot of fun. There's a ton of ink on this one too. And this ship down here at the bottom, everything to the mast is one sheet of fabric. It was all white. I just painted it. There's no way I was going to cut all of those little tiny pieces out.
We've already seen
You
it.
may have figured it's like, from the two of them, I meant it originally to be a triptych. There's supposed to be 3 pieces. So there is a third piece. Want to see it?
Yeah.
It's a little unfinished. This is number 3. I made it the same time as the first one. That way it exactly mirrors the pieces, and as you can see, they will fit together perfectly. Unfortunately, after I finished the second one, I ran out of the exact skin tone that I needed to do my little Book of the Dead figures there. I did finally find some more in Paducah one year when I went up there for the quilt show, but by then I moved on to 25,000 other things, but I promise someday I am going to finish them. Those can go around. One thing to look on the big one, the Hoffman here, flip him around real quick. I have to say I was super, super proud. For the first time ever, I didn't have any thread snarls. Almost. There's one thread snarl. It's hiding behind the UFO. So backguard is your friend. With those, what I basically did was I had them on paper, and then I put them on a light box, and I traced them through to the top, and then I painted the heck out of them. So yeah, I refer to those as my Day of the Dead paper dolls. They're fun. They're a lot of fun. I had a great time making those. I also had fun because I do know a little bit about hieroglyphics. My name is in there in hieroglyphics, as is Hoffman. I don't know that Hoffman knew that, but that's okay. I knew it was there, and that's kind of all that matters. You ever have one of those moments where you suddenly find your niche and you go, this is what I'm supposed to be doing? This is that quilt. I had been making fun stuff, fairy tales, Egyptology, history, but I'm a cat lady. I have always been a cat lady. I've had cats longer than I could hold a needle. So Cat Noir came along in 2014. It was made for the It's Not All Black and White challenge for Quilt Fest. And originally it was going to be inspired by the Thin Man, but it wound up being inspired by my daughter's cat and my cat. She had moved back home with her big black cat. His name was Assassin. I had a cat named Karma.
Very cool.
This is actually what Karma looked like, but not in those colors. Karma was a Maine Coon, though, and very, very jealous. And Assassin was a big, curious guy, and he would try to check her out, and she would look down at him on the table like, hey, want to come on up here? Hey, yeah, sure, nothing, no problem. So he would jump up, and the second he did, she'd roll over like he was attacking her. She was trying to get him in trouble, the little snot. So that was kind of where these two came in. So she was the ultimate femme fatale, and this is my hard-boiled detective, Nick Hunter. I got a little bit carried away writing down all of the story, though. I wound up turning it over and writing more on the back. I love text. I studied journalism in school. I love typography. And I will tell you the easiest way to add words to your quilt, print it out in the font that you want, the size that you want on your computer, and trace it with a Micron pen. Super easy. But I absolutely adore that one. This was also the first quilt to go to a national show and bring back a ribbon from MQX. But I'd also discovered a little bit more as far as working with inks. Originally, I had tried to applique their faces. I did raw edge applique. I hated it. It looked awful. So those are all white, and then I just did the entire thing in ink tints. It was a lot faster. I've made my faces like that ever since. I get better results, particularly with the eyes. And when it comes to any character that you're doing, if you have the eyes right, you know who they are. And once you know their character, it's all good. That would go around.
So that is all painted?
The faces are. The faces, the eyes. I, of course, had to use the challenge fabrics for the hat and everything. Although I think my favorite thing is check out his little wrist cuff. I covered a button for him with one little tiny paw print. It just seemed right for my detective. But I do love detective stories, and I do love film noir. Meanwhile, I was finally just trying to discover some real artists whose work I wanted to follow. Because of course, it's all well and good to say I need to take classes, but who do you take classes from? I had already been playing with fibers, and I decided I needed somebody to teach me how to use them properly. And I discovered Marianne Quilt. Oh, you okay? I took a class from her on doing these amazing seascapes at one of the Mancuso shows. She was showing how to do like embossed velvet, how to do different techniques such as adding beading, and I kind of went with it. This was also the first one where I decided, how hard is thread painting anyway? It turns out it's only as hard as you want to make it, and it really wasn't. It was just like sketching, only with your thread. But this one was really a lot of fun to do. It taught me how to use a lot of the fibers. You may notice all of this lace that's on it. That was cheap costume lace from Joanne Fabrics. I wish I had more of it. I've used it so much. I've used it in this guy. I'll talk about him in a few minutes. I used it in a lot of them. But I had a lot of fun. I crocheted some of the elements out of metallic thread. I've got costume satin on the leafy sea dragon. And as for the clownfish, I might like blue. I cannot stand orange. I have no orange fabric. I have no orange thread. But I have a clownfish on there. The clownfish was white. And then I stitched him completely in kimono white silk. I love silk thread. Silk thread, well, not only does it feel luxurious, but if you seam rip as often as I do, it comes out in nice long strands. It's filament, so it's super, super strong, but also it takes a dye or an ink like nobody's business. So after I had him all put together, I painted him on the quilt like that, just dabbing it along the threads, and it sucked up all the ink. So it looks like I changed thread colors. And realistically, I could have, but if you don't have to, then why spend the time? Spend the time doing something more fun instead. The other stuff, as far as it's on the top and the bottom, it kind of grew. And this happens to me quite a bit because it was a very small one. I made it for class, and I wanted to enter it into a show specifically because Marianne Quilt was one of the judges. I wasn't looking for brownie points, but I did want to show her what I had done with her class. And I got a faculty ribbon from her, so I noticed she at least appreciated it. But it wasn't big enough. So I had to make a few extra things. I made octopus arms to extend the size just a little bit, because they are all about the square inches in it. So that's the only one that got to go to besides Quilt Fest. Now we can go around. You're welcome. You're totally welcome to pet this guy, by the way. It's like he's very soft, he's very fuzzy. I've got things all over it. I've got texture magic in it. The two little embossed things that kind of look like a clamshell down here, originally I embossed that velvet to make a flower for this, but it looked clunky when I had it pinned on the wall. So he got it instead, now it's a clamshell instead of a flower. The guy behind here, Moonswept, is actually probably one of the favorite things I've ever made. Almost everything that you're seeing is references something. It's inspired by cats, history, art, fish, take your pick. Moonswept, honestly, came from nothingness. It came from a random doodle. I always have an art pad there when I'm getting ready to pick up my quilts at Quilt Fest, and I literally am just sketching long lines, because the way that you get good at art is the same way that you get good at quilting, and it is practice. You get muscle memory, and it builds that. So I was just practicing some nice long lines, and it was cool. It was a nice drawing. It wasn't anything, it was just 7 or 8 lines. Then I started reading a book by Gloria Lumen on abstract symmetry, and it kind of changed. I pulled my drawing back out, and I drew one circle. Right there. As soon as I draw that circle, I knew exactly what it was. That circle became the moon. This big arc became branches of a tree, and it just kind of went from there. It was a lot of fun, though, because I made myself copies of it and practiced coloring it in. And in the end, I discovered it really did not make a difference what color I was going to make it as long as I had the values right. So instead, what I did was I took lead, just plain lead, in different softnesses, because the softer they are, the darker they get, and the harder they are, the lighter they are. So I just kind of shaded the entire thing. And Rembrandt used to do this, I understand. He would actually paint in black and white, and then go back over it and paint color on top. Because as long as you had the lights and the shadows right, the color wasn't necessarily irrelevant, but the message got across. This one was one of those, I loved it so much, I'm sitting there thinking, dear God, please don't let me screw this one up. Thankfully, I didn't. There's a couple of spots that were a little iffy, but I covered them because usually, you know, if I make a hole in something, there's an applique. The only place that there was a really big boo-boo here, there's a leaf on there now, and I'm not going to tell you which one it was. But it was one of those ones, I went to Quilt Fest, and that particular year, the judge that we had was a judge who had judged my stuff many times and was not a particular fan of mine. So I'm like, well, I don't care because I didn't make it for her. I made it for me, and I absolutely loved it. It won second place for art, which was great, but the one that really knocked me over, and I was not there that day of judging. I have helped with Quilt Fest judging for years because you can learn so much being in that room, seeing what the judge sees. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, she'll call you up and point out things, and it kind of helps make you a better quilter as far as the techniques go. But the one that really got me was it won Best Machine Quilting. I had never won that before. I had not been a machine quilter up until then. The ones that are going around did not have a lot of technique to them. So I was taking a look at this going, how am I going to finish this? I discovered Leah Day. Is anybody here familiar with her? Yes, she is an amazing quilter and a very generous one with her knowledge. She has a lot of videos that she has done and built up a huge repertoire of free motion stitches. So that was literally what I did. My little tiny 6-inch throat foff quilted this, and it won Best Machine Quilting over professional quilters. And there were a couple of professional quilters that year at the show. So that is probably my biggest feather in the cap. It did go on to win Best Wall Quilt at Grand Rapids as well. But the one that I still love, and I literally came home with that ribbon that said Best Machine Quilting, and I pinned it on my sewing machine, and I gave him his very own vanity picture. Because I was so darn proud of that little machine. Where are, Picasso. Nobody here is allergic to cats, right? It just occurred to me because I guarantee a cat has sat on almost every single one of these quilts, so if they don't have cat hair on them, they might smell like cat hair. So nobody's squeezing, so I think we're good. Got 2 more 1 and 2s coming up here. This one kind of wound up being a theme for me because once again, I decided to do the Quilt Fest Challenge alongside the Hoffman Challenge. They had just come out with the Crystallis, and it was the first time that they did digital prints, which at the time was very new and exciting. And you could use either the white or the black. This one over here on the edge that Coral is holding is Picasso, the artist at work, and it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, trying to come up with an abstract picture of my cat Thumper. He was very long, very lean, with piercing blue eyes. That's him, by the way. And at the same time, I wanted to do another one, a bobbin. So I literally drew one pattern, flipped it over, and then I kind of changed the features a little bit to match the cat, because this one is my other cat, Bobbin. Bobbin is not nearly as long and sleek. He's kind of short and chunky. The thing about this one also, because this one went to Quilt Fest, it did not have this border on it when it went to Quilt Fest because, again, it could only be 110 inches all the way around. So the other one went like you see it with the frame on it. Although there's a couple of things that were not planned there. You see those a butterfly hanging off the bottom and another one up top? The one up top happened because as I was putting the piping down and putting the border on, I slipped and cut a hole right through that border. Applique time. The one at the bottom was kind of the same thing. One of the Mancuso shows, it was just 2 or 3 inches shy of being able to enter it for small wall, so I wound up adding another butterfly at the bottom just so it could go. And it did travel with the Hoffman collection for a while, and it was funny because I saw a picture of it in AQS magazine, and I looked at it and I thought, God, I hate that. This triangle right behind him was white. It was a white triangle, and it was all I could see. It was so jarring because the eye is drawn to white space. So I pretty much decided, okay, as soon as he comes home, I'm coloring him, which I did. Although before that happened, I had already gotten him back from Quilt Fest, and I decided that he wanted a border too. So I took the binding off because all he had was a simple binding on. And I literally added more batting. I sewed on a front border and a back border and piped it, which is why when you'll send it around, you'll notice this is not very densely quilted. I couldn't do that because I'd already quilted him. So if I tried to add dense quilting with it attached, it would have sucked it up and distorted it. The funny part was that they wound up being both together at the same show. This one was traveling with Hoffman, and I sent this one to Mid-Atlantic. And the Mancuso brothers noticed it and posted it on their webpage as the brother quills. It's like, well, yes, actually they are. But these two were a lot of fun, but they wound up being side by side at Mid-Atlantic. They can go around. And of course, I decided one of my other cats had to get into the act. I also have a little female named Fiona. She's a tortoiseshell calico. I haven't used her in a lot of my stuff because frankly it's hard to get a good picture of. This one was another Quilt Fest challenge, and this was Picasso the Rule Breaker, because the challenge was Quilter's Rule. Well, Picasso had lots of rules. Learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. By this point I had taken several classes with professionals that I really admired, and I was finally starting to get the idea, okay, yes, you do know the rules, but once you know the rules it makes it a lot easier to break them in the way that you want. This particular one, the main fabric was a black and white measuring tape, and it was very jarring. It's down here. You'll notice it's no longer black and white. Inktense. Again, I didn't want anybody looking at that. I wanted them looking at her. To make the letters and also to make her actual binding, or well, I guess I should say borders. Normally I was using like letting tape, but this time I decided to use heat transfer vinyl. I spent entirely too much time making a border. This is not the border that she went to Quilt Fest with. I had a lot of those leftover squares from that Titanic in beautiful shades of purple. So I made a big 3-inch border all the way around her out of them. I spent way too much time on that border because I was invested in it. I decided this was the way it was going to be without listening to that little quilting fairy voice going, that doesn't look so hot. But it went like that to Quilt Fest anyway. And it did win second place, but as soon as I got it back, I was like, I don't like that. I laid it down on my quilting table, I picked up the rotary cutter, and I whacked the whole border clean off. I just made a different binding for it, and to do this, I basically made a whole cloth quilt. I quilted the frame on a large sheet and then cut out the entire center. I placed her on there a little bit wonky, and because she's wonky, she has to be on this piece right here. All of this was happening just about at the time that we started shutting down for COVID. So she had gone to a couple of shows, and then she had to wait, and then I had to basically send the photo out to get her accepted. And she was accepted, and she did go to Paducah. Well, she came back from Paducah, and she was sitting in the box, and I let her sit in the box because what else was she going to do? It was in a bag. Unfortunately, I also had a cat at the time with a very weak bladder. That's exactly what happened. I saw this wet box right before it was time to send her off to Grand Rapids thinking, oh crap. But she was in a plastic bag. But all the cats liked sitting on there, and somebody's claw got into that bag. I had not pre-washed my fabrics. I didn't used to pre-wash fabrics, I do now. The only place I will say that it ran, the black had run. The black had run onto the border. But still, I had to take the entire thing off, and that meant to get rid of, obviously, the cat urine, I had to immerse this thing, which had never, ever been washed. If you take a close look when it comes around, there's cardboard on this. I had a fun time with the embellishments. There's little metal squares, and one of the places that I used to work had a lot of lenticular poster board, which I kept because I love lenticulars. I'm a child. I like that kind of stuff. So they are sewn on here. And here I am throwing it in a bathtub to get rid of it all. I will tell you, as far as that little spot where it ran, I've also taken lots of classes with Cindy Lobeck. Dawn dish soap and a toothbrush is your best friend. It will get it out, and it did. But I had to put it in warm water in order to get rid of the cat urine. The only thing I lost, it did not affect the cardboard at all. What I lost was a couple of crystals. Crystals are easy. They're hot fix. You put them on. Technically, there's a tool that you're supposed to apply them with. I'm impatient. I'll put 5 or 6 on and hit the whole thing with the iron. So this poor one has actually had quite a life to it. Fortunately, though, I explained to AQS what had happened and that I wasn't going to be able to make the show, and she extended my deadline. She's like, if you're able to get it by this time. So it took a lot because I had to take it off of the back, wash it, reattach it to the back, get her folded up and get it sent off. But AQS, they're absolutely wonderful, and I'm so happy they work with me on that. The first 3 Picassos were just for fun. I actually was not a big fan of Picasso's style of art. I'm more of a Da Vinci girl. At least I used to be, but the more I started doing Picasso, the more I started seeing what he was seeing. It's like, okay, that stuff was easy. Let's get into something that's a little bit harder. So I was researching some of his art online, and I came across a piece I absolutely loved called Pigeon with Green Peas. Unfortunately, that piece is lost to history. But it inspired this one. This one is called Picasso, the Art Thief. And Picasso once said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And I did totally steal that quilt. There's a picture of the original on the back. This was the first time all of my cats kind of got to come out to play, because I was thinking, okay, cat crimes. So I have all of my cats creating small acts of vandalism around the house. I've got Fiona letting the bird out. I've got Thumper digging buttons out of the fishbowl. I really enjoyed the lines of it, but more importantly, I enjoyed the story. What happened was this piece was originally made in 1911, and in 2010 it was stolen from the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art in Paris, along with 4 others. All 5 paintings have a combined value of $123 million. They caught the thieves and they caught his accomplice. The accomplice apparently freaked out and threw all 5 paintings into the trash. They have never been found. But this one was actually a lot of fun, and this is so much ink you wouldn't even believe it. This was going to be a challenge quilt, but then COVID happened. I had partly started it, and then I decided, okay, it's not going to be a challenge quilt. I will make something else for my challenge. This one got wound up with a border to it, and I took a lot longer, and I basically made 2 stories. On the front, you can see obviously the cat's doing the crimes and everything, but when you take a look at the quilting behind it, you can actually see what's happening. You can see the trash can, you can see an alley. I have the dates that it was created and the date that it was destroyed, and I have my personal favorite, the empty frame up in the corner where it was stolen. So I really did kind of take his work and make it completely mine. And Picasso, by the way, was a huge cat lover. I'd like to think he'd like it. Yeah, there is a ton of ink on that one. There's ink tints, there's ink, there's paint, there's pastels, there's chalks. That was a whole cloth quilt with a few things added on top of it. One final Picasso, although I actually have 2 more that I'm working on, because frankly, I don't know where it's going to end. It's just fun. This one was my last Hoffman challenge. I had not done a Hoffman challenge since my first Picasso, and the reason is I really, really hated that digital fabric. It was horrible to work with, especially the black one. Anytime I hit it with a needle, the color ran. So I took my Inktense and colored in all the places where it ran. Digital fabric, unfortunately, still has some of those problems, and I despise digital fabric, and I don't use it. This, though, was their 20th anniversary, I believe, of their contest, and they decided to go with their beautiful batiks. So I decided, what the heck? This one is completely different. It's completely pieced. I am not a piecer, but I had taken one of Cynthia England's classes. I also don't do paper piecing very well. I have a real hard time gearing my brain towards that backwards thinking. Picture piecing is different because you're doing it from the front, and that one clicked. And then I think in some ways it's better when you go into a class knowing absolutely nothing and is way beyond your comfort zone. Because I remember seeing the other people who were in that class, they were like, as she was describing these things, I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. It wasn't harder for me because I did not have to unlearn the way that they were doing it. This one, though, was an older picture. I had taken a picture of Thumper. I came home from work one day, really tired, sat down in the chair, got up to fix myself a drink. When I came back, the little stinker had stolen my chair. So that was a picture I took of him having stolen my chair, and I kind of was trying Picasso's easier way, his more childlike. And that's kind of harder because you want to be literal as an artist. So that is where Picasso's genius really started to get to me, was trying to make that a little bit more simplistic. This is definitely the last Hoffman challenge I think that I'm going to do because I'm kind of getting away from doing the challenges. I get a sip of water though, it's right like, I'm thirsty.
May I ask a question? It's pretty banal, but when you quilt, are you using a sit-down machine or?
I am domestic. I do actually have a long arm. It is a sit-down long arm. Unfortunately, the computer died on it.
So now I'm just quilting on a standard domestic machine.
All right, so we're going back just a little bit more because I wanted to get all the picazzos. This one was a really fun one. This year, my guild, the St. Augustine Peacemakers, is the one who is doing the challenge. The last time that we did it was in 2017, and the challenge was Once Upon a Quilt. Fairy tale theme. I might have had a big hand in that. Okay, I had a big hand in that. I did the artwork for it, I had a lot of fun, and I picked the fabrics. And that's the funny thing is, even though it was kind of my brainchild, this was not the quilt I planned to do. I was actually thinking, from this tulip pink, I was thinking Scheherazade. Bob and the Bold actually is my cat. When Thumper was a really huge cat, and when he was a year old, we decided he needed a friend. So I took him over to a friend's house because her cat had just had kittens. Only one cat was bold enough to check out the giant white cat. So he's been Bob and the Bold ever since, and he's still very bold, not brave. There's a big difference. He will still run, but he runs head first into danger. But this one was a lot of fun because it let me play with the illuminated manuscript. And the other technique that I picked up from a class from Esterita Austin, which was doing mono printing on shears. So it gave me the chance to do all of this beautiful lettering in gold. So that part is painted, all of the lettering is painted, and the gold filigree. The little arch, that's all left over from Quilt Like an Egyptian because I still had lots of those stones left, and I still do. Although by now the fusible is not so great on it. This one was kind of the brave little tailor meets the sorcerer's apprentice. I was thinking if he was suddenly given the knowledge to create the star, and here he is, but it's a much smaller one. I did not get crazy with trying to write his entire story on it. Although he had his challenges too, because I was making him when Hurricane Irma hit. So we basically bugged out because I really did not think that my roof was going to survive. And by the time that we finally made it back to Jacksonville, they were already judging. Fortunately, they had not judged the Quilt Fest yet. I literally snuck into the room, got with the coordinator and told her what had happened, and we slipped it into the pile. So it made it. But this one's actually one of my favorites, not just because I really appreciate his joyful look. This one went to the MQX show, and I was there, and I really enjoy seeing the faces of people when they look at my stuff. There was a woman there with her little girl, maybe 7 years old, and she was reading it to her daughter. And her daughter was absolutely loving it. It's like, that's the part that I really enjoy. It's like, that little girl might want to try doing some fairy tales herself. Bobbin actually wound up having a few more adventures after that. He was so much fun to do. And because he is white with orange, he's a very distinctive cat, and he's very easy to do. So he wasn't done having adventures with the Quilt Fest Challenge. By this time, particularly with that particular quilt, we changed one very important rule because I asked if we could. I asked the president of Quilt Fest if we could make it 120 inches all the way around. The reason for that is the smallest quilt that you can enter in AQS is 30 inches. 30 inches per side. That quilt is 30 inches per side. That quilt went to Paducah and won a ribbon. So that year we actually changed it. For this one, this is me trying to skirt the rules. I want to be in the rules, but if it says it can be any size, as long as it's 120 inches around, this is 120 inches circumference. But I wanted to make it a little bit bigger because this one was kind of a fairy tale. I still have the laws of three going on. I've got the proportions. It's about a third of the way down. I have one large figure and two smaller ones. This time Bobbin is joined by a couple of his tailor friends. We have Toby the Tortoise and Big Joe Crow. And Bobbin is just a big goofball, which is what makes him such a good subject for it. And he is also appliqué, but he's also painted, because I could have shaded his clothing by making 15 different layers, but I did not want to go to that much trouble. So that is all Inktense, just gradually shaded. Saved myself a lot of time and a lot of fabric, and I got it done a lot faster. This one also has a story which I really kind of enjoy, and I wrote it out on Quilt Fest. So the story for him is, once upon a time, 3 tailors heard tales of a treasured land of button trees, thimble vines, and pin-cushion flowers. Seeking fame and riches, they went on a long quest to find the fabled land. Unfortunately, they were all just a little bit clueless. So this one's kind of more of a parable for me. I like Aesop's fables as well. It's like they're so busy looking for it. He's got a compass, he's got a map, he's got the spyglass. They're right there. There's nothing left to find. But I really enjoyed this one because it was also the first time I tried a different technique, which is making a silk beaded edge. Learned that one from Beth Ann Nemish. She offers some amazing online classes, but that is definitely one I want to use again because that was more fun than it should be allowed to make. There was a little bit of handwork just tying it in between every single one of those beads. But that one was a lot of fun. And the little origami flowers too. That's just me. I also like to do origami. If it's paper, I guarantee you I've played with it. I do have another adventure planned for Bobbin once I finish practicing because I have the picture in my mind, but you're not quite sure how to get there. And the only way that you can do is to try it on something else. I hadn't planned on making this many bobbin quilts, but this one I kind of had to. This actually was 2019, and I'm not kidding. The challenge for Quilt Fest was bobbin on the beach. I have a cat named Bobbin. In some ways, it was almost too easy. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Put bobbin on a beach? It has to be interesting. It has to at least be funny. But the idea of just bobbin on a beach was not at all funny or engaging, so it took me the longest time to do it. Meanwhile, I had gone to the MQX show up in New Hampshire, the first time I'd ever actually made the show, and unfortunately it was the last year that they had the show because it was one of the shows that left us due to COVID. But while I was there, I spent a ton of money, as you can imagine, not only between classes, but between the vendors because there's so much good stuff. And wouldn't you know, just as I get back, I have not done my taxes yet. It's April. So I'm sitting here doing my taxes thinking, good Lord, I just spent how much money? I'm never going to be able to take a vacation again as long as I live, or if I do, it's going to have to be someplace really, really cheap. And while I'm thinking this bobbin is in the litter box scratching, I'm like, that's it. My next vacation, I'm going to have to stay home and play in my litter box. So that is where his inspiration came from. He is actually making a sand castle out of his litter box. I've got a little mouse hiding in the castle over here. And we actually had to incorporate a bobbin. But the reason that I turned the bobbin into a fly is because the cardinal sin happened. I bled on the quilt. Not only that, I did not notice right away that I bled on the quilt. It sat there overnight. It oxidized. It was too late. I tried using the hydrogen peroxide. I tried Dawn. All I did was smear it around. So it's under the bobbin. But same thing, I had a little bit of fun. It's like I played with the dye as far as making the cat litter box. I think I made it, I called it Ocean Breeze Extra Clumping Formula. I still think I should have named it Title Cat, but that didn't occur to me until after I'd already made it. It was fun. Bobbin's a funny guy. I like to call this one semi-original, and the reason it's semi-original is because I did not make either of these patterns. When I was in Houston, I discovered a company called Urban Elements, and they make pre-cuts. This wreath in the center was this really beautiful pre-cut, and I just absolutely had to have it. I also bought a pattern called Santa's Little Helpers with the little cats with their Santa hats. Well, I made the wreath, and it was beautiful, and I'm looking at it, it's like, so? Okay, it's a pretty wreath, and? Fiona was still a kitten at the time, so I'm like, well, if I had a wreath in my house, what would be happening? I would have Fiona in it. So I started peeling away some of the pieces, and I took her pattern and shrank it down to make a kitten, and basically re-altered her body until I got the shape that I wanted. So it was basically two different patterns that may have started off looking totally different, but when you put them together and add your own spin to it, it's still yours. And same thing, it's like Patricia Ritter, who was the lady who did this, was a guest judge at a show. It was an MQX show as well. So I sent it there so she could see what I had done with it. But she's enjoyed it too. It was a lot of fun. This is exactly the way that they would look too. That's Thumper, Bobbin, and Fiona. Fiona would be in there. Thumper would be looking terribly innocent, and Bobbin looks like he just got caught with his paw in the cookie jar. Let's see. So although I might have started the art thief there for the 2020 challenge, this was actually the one that wound up being the 2020 challenge. If anybody remembers, the theme for 2020 for Quilt Fest was 2020 is so perfect. So, did anybody have a perfect 2020? Yeah, me neither. I was still working for Target at the time, and we had a lot of people leave. We were on a skeleton crew, and I was one of the few able-bodied managers still there. So I actually got dubbed an essential worker. I had paperwork in case they shut down the city of St. Augustine, saying that I was allowed to go to work because I was in charge of making sure toilet paper got to the floor. I cannot even tell you how much fun
essential workers are. And my daughter's a nurse, so she had it even worse. So this one was a little bit different. This was the remains of that as well, but I decided to do kind of a Barnum and Bailey take because I really did feel that this was my life in 2020. Originally she was going to be juggling the scissors, but I couldn't make it fit because it's actually 20 inches by 40 inches, and of course it had to be 120 inches in order to do Quilt Fest. So same thing, I printed out the text on the computer, put it underneath my fabric and traced it out. This was also one we were not allowed to do any embellishments. Total killjoys there. So the only embellishing that it actually has is the tightrope going across it. And then I decided she needed to make it just a little bit more dangerous, so I have her doing her tightrope act over some painted sharks. That's actually the beauty of doing things with Inktense. That is a white Inktense pencil on a blue fabric, but it made it gave it a really ghostly look. Although one of my favorite things in this is something you can't even see, is the binding. I've gotten very, very good at binding, and I'm glad to say that the judges have noticed that I've gotten good at binding too, but they all commented on the little tiny rickrack that I have in my binding. I literally held that down by hand in order to stitch it, so it looks like an extra ruffled thing, but it just gives it a teeny, teeny pop of color. There's other challenges besides Quilt Fest, although obviously Quilt Fest is the one I've done the most. Anybody here know cherrywood fabric? Mm-hmm. Fabulous stuff. I discovered it in 2016. I had done Picasso, and Picasso was a huge cat lover. Van Gogh, I'm not really a big fan. Van Gogh kind of makes me sad because the man had a very sad life. And also, he didn't draw cats. So I'm assuming he probably wasn't a cat lover. I had started thinking about doing Van Gogh, though, because I had just taken a class with Susan Carlson, and I kind of wanted to try a collage to make a painterly look. Meanwhile, 2016, Cherrywood Challenge announces the Van Gogh Challenge. So I thought, okay, I will try this. I fell in love with their fabric right away. It quilts like butter, it really does. So 2016, I started 2 Van Goghs. Iris, this is Iris Van Gogh, and this is Vincent Van Gogh. Iris wound up being a part of the Dutch tour, and you may notice I have more of that same lace that you find something that you like, it just seems to fit, and the best things you have are the things that you can use over and over. I had a lot of fun thread painting the irises though. This one was actually my cat Ninja, except Ninja really had green eyes, but since it was a Van Gogh challenge, it really seemed like it needed to have blue. Vincent, on the other hand, I did start at the same time as Iris. I did not finish him until 2022. This one, and I have to move away from it, this one was originally taken with a photo of my cat Thumper. He just had this particularly dreamy look on his face. He looked very poetic and thoughtful. He was looking for lizards. He was watching the skylight for lizards, but it just captured his eyes perfectly. So I literally took his photo, traced it the old-fashioned way that we do, and blew it up at Staples. The only parts that were actually drawn onto this was Thumper, and then I drew 3 large sunflowers, and then I made myself a couple of spirals up here to try to kind of add into the starry night. The biggest problem that I had with him was actually the sunflowers, because I wanted to do batiks. I had already discovered that prints, it's hard to do prints raw edge because you get those little white fibers. I wanted batiks. I could not find a lot of batik sunflowers. I actually only have about 4 different batik sunflower prints in the background here. I changed them with Inktense. I made them a little darker, I made them a little lighter, I made them a slightly different color, just to try to trick everybody into thinking that there were more sunflowers here than there really were. He wound up being a great scrap project. His little eyes over here, and I have to say his eyes came out so perfectly. They were the very first thing that I did, and his eyes are left over from Picasso #1. That butterfly fabric, the center of the butterflies, I cut them out to make his irises. One of these eyes has 21 tiny little pieces of fabric in it. So I had a big foam board up there with lots of pins holding it and gluing it slowly into place. And there's lots of tiny pieces in here. It took me an enormous amount of time, as you can imagine. And for some reason, his ear was even harder to do. The big problem, though, is like I had all the glue together. I had netting across the top. I had it basted. I was ready. Hurricane Irma.
My mother and my son live with me. We have 2 cars. I took every single quilt in the house and all 6 cats. My son and my mother were in the other car. And the only place that we could find that would accept cats was in Athens, Georgia. So we drove all the way to Athens, Georgia, me with about 40 quilts in the car and 6 very unhappy cats. I put show tunes on so they could sing along to it because Lord knows they were. But we finally got back, and I swear I will never leave for a hurricane again as long as I live, because trying to get back was almost impossible. Yeah. One of my quilts almost missed the show because of that. But also, once we did finally get back, we had no electricity in the house. Humidity, of course, was horrible. You know exactly how bad it gets after a hurricane. But this was sitting rolled up, basted. It's only glued together. All that humidity did horrible, horrible things to it. It looks like it had been crushed up underneath an elephant for 3 years. I literally had to pull all the basic stitches out, and there's netting on top of this. So you know how easy it is to nick netting. I pull all the basic stitches out, lay him flat, spritz him down with water, and slowly, painstakingly try to get the glue to re-dry and get him to lay flat again. One area actually did not, and that was his cheekbone over here. Thumper really did have prominent cheekbones like that. And I actually had to go back with a knife and cut it open, take out a little bit of stuffing, put it back over, and add a couple more pieces to go back across it. The other problem that I had with this is obviously this one was stitched on domestic. I did have a long arm, although it was a sit down. My old fob had a few stitches on it, as did an antique brother and a featherweight. I used a total of 6 different machines on this because they were taking turns breaking down. Meanwhile, there's Thumper, the star of the show, who liked to sit on everything I did. This is netting. You get cat hair under netting, you're going to cry. Or if you're me, sailor language might come out. So in order to keep that from happening, every time Thumper was around or any time I actually had it opened up, I had a clear shower curtain liner laying over the top of it. That way he could still sit there, but his fur wasn't getting into it. The problem is, it's a big, lumpy piece, and it wound up getting trapped around it. I sewed through a shower curtain liner. There's a piece of shower curtain liner attached to the back of this quilt. I had this much, a big piece of free motion quilting, about like this big. I was not going to rip all that out, especially not with netting. So clever me, unfortunately you can't see it from here, you'll have to come back here. I put a quote on the back of it. This one's a quote by Van Gogh that says, "If you truly love nature, you will find beauty everywhere." Everywhere is a huge piece of HTV like this to cover the shower curtain. Unfortunately, HTV is also a glitter HTV, which wound up being a big problem because I sent it to Houston. It was accepted in Houston. They disqualified it because of that glitter, so it got sent back. Unfortunately, he had kind of a shorter show life because his first show was meant to be MQX, which went away. Then he was accepted to Vermont, which went away. And then he got sent back from Houston. So he actually has a very short one, but unfortunately not too long after he went to Quilt Fest, the model of this particular one, Thumper, passed away at the age of 9.5 years. So this quilt lives in my house, and my mother gets separation anxiety every time it's off the wall. Even taking it down today, I had to assure her that yes, I promise it is going to be back. But still, he is one of my favorites. I don't know if I would ever do another one because I've worked on and off of him for the majority of Thumper's life. Going back to Karma here, although I am finally starting to get away from doing challenge quilts. Challenge quilts are a lot of fun, but they do take up a lot of time. And plus, because of the different restrictions, they take time away from pieces, bigger pieces that I want to do, which is one reason why so many of my quilts are small. But I had to do this one. This was the Cherry with Graffiti Challenge. Karma was a Maine Coon. She did not like having her picture taken, unlike Thumper. I got one good picture of her, and it was this. I ran it through a filter on my phone to kind of elongate her features to make her look a little bit more painterly, so I could print it out and then draw my pattern from it. The back was a big piece of black that I just literally drew graffiti pieces on and cut away the back for it. Karma had a huge personality, so this one kind of fits her, and especially with bits dripping off. Also, it's like this was the first Matisse. Henri Matisse has always been a huge inspiration to me.
largely because he did some of his best work from a sick bed. He actually had a bout of stomach cancer, and he did some of his best work laying in bed with a paintbrush on a very long stick painting on his walls. So anytime you start thinking, God, I can't do this today, I remember him. It's like, my God, if that man can do that, I'm having a bad day. I'm just having a bad day. It's nothing compared to what he did. But he also was, as I said, a huge cat lover. The big problem came was when I tried to make a name for this one. Naming quilts is usually easy for me, as you could probably tell. I like bad puns. I'm a big fan of bad puns. But this one, nothing was really coming to me. It's like, okay, I had Americat graffiti, Bassequat, feline groovy. That was one of the ones that I had down there. It's like I was going down the line before I finally decided to be Catisse. Feline groovy, I don't know if anybody here is a Simon and Garfunkel fan. 59th Street Bridge song, Feeling Groovy. That was where that one came from, but it was kind of a dark horse. It didn't quite fit the whole Matisse vibe, which is why he wound up being Catisse. But while I was looking at my list of prospective titles, I hear Bobbin in the next room losing his dinner. And just like that, I'm looking at Feline Groovy, and all of a sudden, the lyrics started to rewrite themselves in my name, right there in my head. That one. So even though I wasn't necessarily ready to do anything with it, I kind of had in the back of my mind as like, okay, I will have to remember that for next time. So flash forward to a quilt that's not finished, so I'm not going to pass them around yet. Is anybody here doing this year's Quilt Fest challenge? Okay, well, I guess I feel a little bit safer, although it really wouldn't make a difference because I was going to do this anyway. My guild, the St. Augustine Peacemakers, came up with Give Peace a Chance. This one was not my idea. I was not really that big of a 70s kind of gal, but I did start thinking of Feline Groovy in terms of Simon and Garfunkel's song, because I rewrote the lyrics to slow down, you eat too fast, you ought to make your dinner last. Stop throwing up on the carpet now, just take your time, you'll be Feline Groovy. So sitting there in that meeting in February when they picked Feline Groovy, I already knew what I was going to do. I'm like, record. I need to make another record quilt that doesn't have all of the oopsies that my first one did. I still wanted one with a hole in the center, but I already knew this time, do not put a walking foot and start going around and around circles. Also, one of the things is that you have to be able to have, you have to have denim in this challenge. Denim is like, if you go out and buy jeans right now, this stuff's got spandex and this stuff is garbage. They don't make the good stuff anymore. Fortunately, my mother is as big of a pack rat as I am. She saved a nice old pair of blue jeans that she didn't like anymore, 100% cotton. And she was perfectly happy to let me cut them up and make bell bottoms for my cat. So here is my work in progress. This is Feline Groovy. As you can see, I've started doing some of the quilting on it. The big difference here, the fabric. This is not polished cotton. This is Silk Radiance. I've worked with it a couple of times and it is amazingly strong and very fun to work with. I did do the hole in the center and it is still accurate in terms of size and scale to a 45. I had been admiring the work of Kathy K. Wiley, that Beauty and the Broken quilt that she did. Amazing. I've seen it up close. I would love to take a class from her, but she's in Canada and I'm not. So going through her blog, I kind of worked out her thought process for how she did her beautiful open work technique. And I decided this one needs to have a spindle adapter in it. So this one is an open work technique, and I think I did it right. We'll find out. But so it is completely open from both sides. All three cats are appropriately attired for the era, I think, in vintage denim, tie-dye shirt, and yes, I did tie-dye that. I did a miniature itty-bitty tie-dye to try to make his shirt. She has a macrame belt. My dad used to love to macrame, and he taught me when I was little too, so I've kind of pulled out all the stops for this one. So this one has been able to incorporate all the things that I did wrong in this one. I still have the three characters, I still have the focal point, but it's the construction. And fortunately, it's like the whole thing is like, as long as you got the imagination to want to make something go, the construction, everything else, you can learn it. There was a time I did awful bindings. Now I actually get really great bindings. Catisse, as it's going around, I remember when I was making the binding for it, you know how you get that 3 out of 4 club? 3 of the corners turn, that last one is just a little devil that doesn't want to. I nailed all 4 corners on that. I knew it when I did it. It's like, oh, 4 corners. And I was there in the judging room when she looked at it, and the judge commented that I nailed all 4 corners. And of course, you're in the judging room, so you're standing like this, but inside you're like, you are doing that happy dance because it is so hard to do. So this has actually kind of come full circle. I'm not going to send him around because obviously he's still in a bit of a delicate state. But I'm very happy for the whole fact that I did mess this quilt up. I'm glad I didn't try to redo it because now I'm redoing it with a fictitious band of the 70s. And they kind of have a little bit of a story going on too. Not a big one. More along the lines of, you have Fiona here, who's this groovy girl who found the coolest cat in school to hang out with. The problem is her pesky kid brother, Bobbin, won't leave him alone. So one day Bobbin comes over and he realizes that Bobbin has a set of bongos. So he comes over with his guitar and they form a band. And they become the absolute hottest act ever to play their mother's garage. So this is the one that's going to be at Quilt Fest this year. And I do plan on sending it to AQS afterwards because it's fun. It makes me smile. And I hope it will make other people smile when they see it. Although I do feel like I owe an apology to Simon and Garfunkel for what I did to those lyrics. But you know, you can't help it. Some days you're inspired by the most beautiful things in nature, and some day you're inspired by a puking cat. I guess it kind of balances out. But Feline Groovy definitely proves that it's never too late to make the quilt that you wish that you'd made the first time. I've been pretty good at fixing a lot of the mistakes that I've made along the way. And a lot of things will just have an applique over the top. Places on the back that weren't so great have back art to them. There's almost always a way to fix it. Sometimes when you make a mistake, it's the best thing that can happen because it gives you a chance to add an element that you might not have thought of before. And a lot of mine are like that. The big thing is I really do love this quilt. So this is one of those times that I don't know what the judge is going to think. She might look at it like, okay, I don't care. I don't care what the judge thinks because I did not make it for her. None of my quilts I made for them. I made them because they bring me joy. The icing on the cake is when you can send your work out for other people to see and it brings them joy as well. The biggest compliment I have ever had as an artist was from Cat Noir. A lady in my guild had seen Cat Noir at Quilt Fest and it inspired her to become a quilter. I cannot think of anything better. And she is such a wonderful lady, and she is actually a very good artist now herself. But the idea that you could send your stuff out there, just like I once saw that one person's quilt, somebody saw my quilt and decided that they wanted to do the same thing. That is kind of the real power I think that we all have as makers. But it's one that you can kind of pass on, not just to other generations, but to complete and total strangers. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed seeing my quilts today. I had an amazing time showing them all to you. Does anybody have any? Yep.
Do you do your own quilting?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you use a long arm on a frame or a stationary?
It is a sit-down, although it is unfortunately a non-functioning sit-down. My computer died. So for the most part, I use a little domestic. Right now I'm using a Juki Exceed HCL F600. So she's got about 7 inches of throat space. And that's what's doing this one.
What is the strength of this?
Embroidery. I had not done crewel embroidery for a very, very long time, but I bought some beautiful Wonderfill threads at Daytona Beach and decided, because this is one of those ones, in addition to wanting to redo this, I have a quilt in my mind that I want to try some embroidery on silk, and I wasn't sure how it was going to look. So this was also an opportunity to try that and see if it will work for my bigger one.
If I quilt something gently, it's pretty stiff.
Yeah.
Yours are nice and flexible, and how do you do that?
It depends on the batting that you're using. This one actually is going to be stiff because this is a wool rayon felt. It's very, very stiff, and I wanted it stiff because once I start quilting into it, the shine is really going to show through, but I wanted that stiffness. This one, I just use a basic cotton batting because I didn't know much about batting at that time either. Although I have no problem, I will quilt the living devil out of things.
Yeah, and that's one.
The smaller ones are probably the same as this. It's a rayon felt that I used to buy at Joann's. I don't know where I'm going to find it now. I got that tip from another art quilter because they were super, super smooth and they don't beard very often. I finally started using some double batting where I have a denser one behind it and the wool on top. For the few times that I walk loft, most of the time I don't walk loft. I will just quilt it flat. Anybody?
I was thinking that Titanic, I think there was a community that Titanic related.
There is. I've considered donating it to one of them, and I may very well because it's not doing anything for me. It unfortunately doesn't bring me joy. I like happy things hanging in my house. There's enough depressing things. And Titanic is a very sobering, example. I'm not sorry I made it. It taught me a lot. It taught me how mad my mother gets when I rearrange the entire house.
Your quilts bring me much joy.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So thank you for a great program. It's really interesting. I'm inspired, but I don't know that I could develop the skills in any amount of time. But thank you. It was really good. Show and tell. Can we please do show and tell, and then I will cancel the. I will join the meeting. Quick reminder: if you brought anything for the table and it didn't go home with someone else, please take it home with you. Do not leave it here.
While you're getting organized, remember to go sign up for Christmas in July and also the August tote bag. And remember that in October we have the mystery quilt. So you need to be signing up for the mystery quilt so Cindy knows how many instructions to do and how much food we're going to have. The important things. You can sign up on the mystery quilt on the website here. Probably in the next week we'll get all that information on the website.
Can I have it quiet for a few minutes while we do a show and tell? I think we've only got a few. Linda, you want to come on?
Version, okay, let me open it up all the way, which I found for embroidery threads, made it a little bit bigger, and then I did, this is, will she do it? This is open wide with a little bit of take a stand, so I did these two bags together. This was a class that was over Garrett. Smile. Oh, you don't have to take a picture. Yeah. There you go. I just want to start something there.
Okay, this one is Cindy Saunders did a Joe quilt. Oh. So I quilted this for her. Well, it's Cindy's. I know, but okay, just hold it. It's a joke, did it? Okay. Freaking love dogs. Cats are fine. Dogs are fine. Go with what you like. So this pink, I got like 15 yards. I got the whole bolt because it's $3 a yard. Hello. Finally using it. And give me a smile. Cute. Okay, I didn't know about the 3 quilt rule. But I will be here for 2 months, so let it work. Someone's
gonna need to help me with this one because it is large.
Coming up.
Wow.
So I fell in love with the outside border fabric, and I've been hoarding that for several years. And I finally found a quilt I felt like it would be good with.
All right, let's see your face. Where are you? Get to the front so I can see you.
I'm going to take the
Smile. Thank you.
I made my block of the month, and here's the block. This is, I was trying to work on some UFOs this month. Okay.
Tiny pieces.
Look, everybody has their scraps. These are actually my scraps. You've seen a million scrap quilts that I've made, but these belong. These were all,
peek around the side.
These were all mine.
Beautiful. There we go.
I know. And finally, this one, I blamed someone here who handed me a bag of selvages and said, put these in a dog bed. I was like, what the hell are you saying?
That woman.
Yeah, like that last time. Really nicely done.
She is prolific.
Job.
All right. I'm going to be a
Grand or something like that? That's the back. That's the back. Yes, it is panel. And my label is in the letters for the baby's name. Okay, but this is the grandma has family history in Ghana, and so this is me trying to be in Ghana.
You made smile. Look here. Here, smile. Thank you. Turn it around and show you the other side too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And smile. Thank you. Thank you.
Linda.
I have an unfinished top. You know, last month I showed a baby quilt for my 4th great grandchild in 18 months.
Wow.
That I thought was going to be a boy. 15 minutes before I showed the quilt, a little girl arrived. So now I'm making a little girl quilt.
That's beautiful. Oh, I love it.
adorable.
I'm Sue, and a couple years ago, Joe here had a bag something like this, and ever since I saw it, I wanted to make one. Of course, what did I do about it? Nothing. And so then Julie brought a bag that was somewhat like this, and I said, oh, I want to make one of those. So she kept telling me what to do. And I said, well, what's the name of the pattern? I'd had the pattern since 2018, which is kind of the story of my life. So anyway, a bunch of us at Foster So decided we were going to make them, and then Julie's going to do a class on this August, September, but anyway, sign up for it. And it was surprisingly easy. Well, it was kind of tedious, but it was overall easy to do. So I'm really glad I did it. All right. Okay, you're done.
Did you miss them? I got it. Aren't you glad you're back? Swat. This is for you, the donation.
Oh, wow, thank you. Lovely. Well, now you perfect. Thank you. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you.
Okay, so my daughter sent me this fabric, which I thought was interesting, and says, Mom, can you make something with it? And so of course I said, of course, honey, I can do that. Well, once I washed it, I washed all my fabric, the fabric became kind of stretchy and stuff. I think it's cotton, but it's a poor quality cotton maybe. But anyway, I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, so I used this pattern that we use for Foster.
It's like a 3-yard pattern.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those 3-yard patterns. But Julie graciously quilted it for me, and I think it came out pretty good. But I am sending my daughter every little piece that is remaining of this fabric because I never want to look at it.
Smile at me. All right, smile. Now, I can't see. Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Awesome.
It is now
8:45.
8:45 and we are adjourned.